And welcome to the Ulster Rugby Roundup show with myself, Nigel Quigley, and Dave the Wingnut topping.
Yeah.
And oh look, there's Paul Handley from Rugby 6. How you doing, Paul?
How you doing? You okay?
Paul's our fan in 5 today. He's going to be explaining a bit about Rugby 6, his background, what he's up to, why he's doing it, and it's very interesting stuff. So please pay attention, folks. So Dave, how you doing, mate?
After watching that nightmare at the weekend and then the other nightmare on Monday with more poor discipline than a school, it's been a nightmare couple of days for us.
A 5-point win, no, we'll take it.
We'll take it.
And tonight we also have 2 fantastic guests coming on. We've got 2 Premiership title winners and Heineken Cup winners 2020, Gareth Steenson Ian Whitten. So we're really looking forward to having a chat with those guys. And the show tonight is partnering with K Nato Biltong and HIT Website Design. So please support these local businesses, local feel, local chat, guys. Paul, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in rugby.
Sure. Well, I'm registered visually impaired, so I now play for the Harlequins visually impaired team. It's been going on for about a year now, despite pandemic. It's we've managed to get a good amount of training sessions together. We did a tournament back in March with full-sighted players. And yeah, it's just been absolutely belting. It's been the best experience ever. It's always been a regret of mine that I never continued rugby, and then my eyes failed me probably about 14, 15 years ago. I got the diagnosis. So yeah, it's for me the last year and a half, 2 years. It's literally been a dream come true. We're looking to the future. There's loads of really exciting stuff planned. I can tell you a lot more about
that. Fantastic. Rugby 6 rugby. Explain to the viewers what that is and what that's about, and your role within it.
Well, I actually play for a visually impaired team, and it's a sevens team. It's seven-side format. So we. Yeah, generally it is a touch rugby. We're all visually impaired of some kind. There's different aspects of that, and we've all got different sight loss issues. But it for me and for a lot of the guys on the team, it's just a great chance to reignite our passions, our dreams that have been taken away from us, really. So I mean, the mates that I've made through this visually impaired journey, and what we're doing right now, what we're doing throughout the pandemic. I mean, we've been Zoom calling, we're WhatsApping, the banter's flying around, and it's a great thing to be involved with.
Right, your company.
Yes.
Tell us about your company.
Okay, so
because then Ulster fans won't understand it otherwise.
Sure. I mean, seriously, who would really employ a visually impaired website designer? Maybe I need to start with my condition first, and that's literally I've got no peripheral. So if you like, right now I'm in front of my screen. This is where I work every day, and my vision loss is affected kind of sideways and upwards, downwards. So I'm like that, which is great because I can see my screen. So the work that I do on screen on a PC, the sight loss has not affected that in any way. And it's going back 12, 13 years ago, I was told that I can't drive anymore. I was told that I've got this condition, and my life kind of crashed really a little bit. You're really crushed by this. But I said to Big Joe earlier that you've got to try and find chinks of light in life, and probably more so right now these days than any other time. And you know, I could have taken it as a negative back then, but no, positive, retrained. I started off doing search engine optimization, copywriting. That then progressed to social media marketing and finally website design. So the company hits website design. Basically, we encompass everything that you really need in the online world. So yeah, we start with the website. We build lovely, responsive websites. They're search engine optimized, so the aim is top of Google search results. Every single client that I've got has at least one page one, if not position one ranking, which is fantastic. That's great for them. And then we follow up with social media marketing and social media advertising as well. So, but again, my vision impairment kind of dictated what I was going to do next. And like I say, let's get a positive, find the positives and everything. And so
You certainly did that, mate, without a doubt. And your whole demeanor and the way you speak and the way you put it forward, it's just, you just ooze positivity. Frankly, it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. It's great to see. David.
Well, I believe, Paul, if I'm not mistaken, you're doing a wee bit of fundraising at the minute. Could you give us a wee bit of a shout about what you're at and what you're doing with that at the minute?
Yeah. It's hurting. Put it that way. It's. I'd like to think this essentially started with me back in March. First lockdown. A bit of a nightmare. We should have been training. Obviously, I play for BI Harlequins. We're based in Twickenham or thereabouts. So it's a bit of a commute, for training. Enniskillen over to Twickenham, but it's all good. So in March, when we couldn't train, I decided to get on my exercise bike and cycle the distance from Enniskillen to Twickenham. So that was good. That was a hard slog, but it was great. That there's a fair bit of money raised, and it made me feel great about myself. Now in May, as a team, we were meant to play in McKinley's Treviso, and we were going to play half time. And I think we were going to play the unbenched players of Treviso, which would have been bloody epic. That would have been really good. So as a team, we formed our first challenge in May, and we did Twickenham to Treviso, and that was brilliant. That was really, really good. I'll be honest, I was itching to do something, and because of the work that I do, I work from home, and it's just too easy to carry on working away when you really should be putting a shift in on the bike. So I was really, really desperate for another challenge. Autumn Internationals came along, and one of the lads suggested Twickenham to Georgia and back again. That's a total of 8,000 kilometres, and we started 2 Fridays ago. I think 2 Fridays coming, and I think looking at the WhatsApp group, I think we've probably done it, but if not, we're about 100 kilometres away from Georgia at the moment. So we're bang on target for where we need to be. The lads are putting in some amazing shifts at the moment. So yeah, it's been brilliant. There's a little bit of competition going on amongst us all, but it's fab. It's great, and as well as the fitness, we're looking to get back to Twickenham for the 12th of December, which technically should be our first training session since February. So it's going to be so rewarding to do the challenge number one, but to finish up virtually in Twickenham, but then actually in Twickenham, for the training, which will be, I can't wait. I'll be honest, it's already been planned, and I might have instigated it, but we are definitely going for beers after the training. I can't wait. what we could really do with.
Well, I know we're going to stick up the fundraising link in here for everyone to have a look at, and certainly just with the comments coming in there, obviously Gregor saying fair play for what you're doing with the fundraising, and Hayden Allen Burko, hello Hayden, how are you? Amazing effort.
He's my bestie. He's allowed that one.
I'm being a man myself. I will certainly give you big props for that one, Paul.
Thank you.
It makes a commute from Keystone and Skillin look like wee buns.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Well, look, Paul, thanks very much for sharing that with us. It's a very inspirational story, and as I say, you just exude it. You see it just coming out of you, which is absolutely brilliant.
It's changed my life, mate. It really has given me such a positive outlook. Can I just say very quickly? I know that there's a whole load of stuff that I'd love to talk about, but the most important, I think, at the moment, especially for this audience, is the IRFU are getting involved in visually impaired rugby. And at the moment, I think on the Facebook page, IRFU, they've got a survey there. So just scroll down the page, you will find it. And, if you are visually impaired, living in Ireland, Northern Ireland, or even if you know someone that's visually impaired, please get them to fill out the survey. It may lead to something like this. It may lead to, just for me, it's the best thing. I can't wait to get back to my lads. I can't wait to get in again. And, if just one other person in Ireland, Northern Ireland, can experience that, then brilliant. So if you can put that link on in the comments as well, that would be brilliant.
Oh, Joe's in the back room. There you go, Joe. Let's have that one too. Paul, thank you very much for explaining that. And personally, I hope we speak to you again. I'd love to get an update on where you're going in the future, etc. Because very interesting. And it's great to see something like that grow, because it grows the game, it makes it more inclusive, and allows people a way back into the game, doesn't it? So I think it's brilliant, mate. Thanks very much for sharing. Paul,
thank you very
much.
And
my absolute pleasure.
Really appreciate your time, mate.
Thank you
very much. Right. Now we've got two gentlemen who are, I'm reliably informed, well fed, so should be in good form. And if Joe would like to bring them on board, we have Gareth Steenson and Ian Whitten. How you doing?
How you doing?
How you going?
Very well.
Brilliant to see you. I tell you what, you must be two happy guys. I know all of Ulster were happy for you. Hey, Gareth, I tell you what, I've got to say it. The thing that sticks with me was the look on your face. You were standing on your own for a while. It was just the look on your face was priceless, mate. Loved it. After the game.
After the Prem final, whenever I was crying in the middle of Twickenham, that was a realization. It was more a realization that was finished. It was actually a moment I remember looking up at the big screens at Twickenham at the top, and it just said Exeter Chiefs champions, and that was just, it caught me a little bit, and that was kind of the realization that everything that I'd ever wanted to achieve with the club had happened, and there was knowing that I wasn't going to put the jersey on again, so it was kind of a mix of emotions, but it all sort of came the right way.
What a way to finish, though, eh? Just getting all those. You get everything, all the boxes ticked in the very last season. That's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like, ones that said to me about a fairy tale and all that. It is a bit of a fairy tale. Like, it's almost like the guys are back in training at the minute. I generally don't have the desire to train with them. I'm not going to lie, because like people have said to me, you've completed club rugby. I was fortunate to win the championship, LV Cups, Premierships, Heineken Cups. There isn't anything I could do in a club jersey more. So, I'm pretty happy, and I'm sure Ian's got a few more he's going to try to win on route, but I'm pretty happy with mine.
I would say you are. And Ian gets to go and do it all again this season, and pretty good start, mind you, wasn't it?
Well, I'd be a bit younger than Gareth, although I don't look it.
You couldn't tell it.
But I'm excited to go again with the boys. Obviously, very exciting group of players to play with. And we showed there last year that we're capable of winning trophies. So, hopefully there's a couple of years left in the legs yet. I I get to have some more good experiences out in the pitch there with them.
Unbelievable season, wasn't it, last season for the Chiefs? I mean, just on all fronts. I mean, we know all that happened with a certain other team, etc., and that's all whatever. But I mean, it was totally deserved, all of it. I mean, if you look at the games of the season, and Europe speaks for itself, you've got to go and win that. There's no easy.
Apologize about this.
That's the wife ringing him. Right?
Very embarrassed.
They're all at home; they can all hear you. That's what.
I'm going to turn it.
Sorry, but
that's we extra fine into the pub.
Absolutely, but it was. I mean, I think Europe. I mean, Europe. You can't cheat your way through to Europe. There's no second. There's only one way through to Europe, and that's get through your group and then beat people and put them out, isn't it? I mean, and it's as simple as that. It was fantastic to watch, and I had a feeling, especially after the group stages, you really started to look like a serious contender.
Well, definitely there was a big onus put on the Heineken Cup last year. Like, we literally sat in pre-season, we said we're going to target winning both. We were sat down, and we have never really performed overly well or as well as we'd liked in the Heineken Cup. We'd only qualified once out of the group stages, and the fact that we'd been in that was 4 years in a row we'd been in Premiership finals, and we hadn't actually done anything in the Heineken Cup. Then we looked at our group and targeted it a lot. And, with the first game away at La Rochelle gave us a lot of confidence. We really went after that game and set us up really for it. And then obviously with what happened with COVID and everything, you were coming to get up against Saints in a home game. In a game, it's another Premiership club. At home, we'd like to think we'd be winning those games, So, and then you get to a semi-final, and hopefully, like the way it would be, we ended up having the semi at home again. So, the route was well mapped for us, but it still had to be done, and the lads put in some serious performances to get the result.
Well, I think myself, I actually think Rob Baxter had this in mind the season before, actually, because you'd played really well the season before. You were in the playoffs. We had a good shout, and then we could see the building blocks of it, and then transferring into last season there. I say all other things put aside, and even before COVID, you could actually say, hold on here, Exeter have made a real good start to the season here. There's a good chance here if they transfer that form across, then you've got high hopes in the Hino. And but I had noticed that in the season before, and I think it was I think there were two games in particular. One was Sale, the other was Bath, and they were you could just tell they were just little glimpses, It was just a shift in the mindset. And that's, for me, I think that's where I seen the start of.
I would never say things like that to these two guys, Dave, because they were there.
No, but for me, as a,
Exeter have been building for a few years, haven't they, lads? I mean, it's just got better and better, and it's last season. I mean, that's going to be some act to follow, isn't it? You can't better that, can you? Both titles in the same season.
I think we won the league in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
That was obviously, the first time it won the Premiership, being the top club in England. Exeter had ever been top club in England. That was such a big thing. But then, a lot of the guys in the team, for whatever reason, didn't play in that final. And then after that, we've had a couple of years of pretty big disappointments. We've been disappointed in Europe, and we've lost those finals at the end of the year to Saracens. And there's just a few boys there that have been through enough disappointments that they were determined that this was going to be different this year, and guys like, Joe Simmons and Dave Ewers and boys like that, they've been through a lot of disappointments to have this year, and sometimes you need to go through those. And I think those boys had served their time, and it's great for guys like that we finally were able to do it again.
I'm going to drop one note in here that Joe put. This is for you, Steno. So I was talking about, obviously, reviewing last season. I don't get this one. You have to explain this, especially Gareth being dragged from media interviews. What's that about?
Oh, yeah. So that was literally on the BT Sport whenever I was pulled over to do an interview with the guys from BT. It just happened to be the moment that all the lads were literally celebrating, getting their photograph with the trophy, and Jack Noel has come in and pulled me away from an interview, which it was quite a cool little moment. It was a nice moment for me as well, because I was trying to do the interview, but very aware that the guys were singing and chanting behind me, and I was kind of like, probably could have done this interview 5 minutes before or 10 minutes later. It just was the wrong time. Jack and got me around.
Yeah, but actually, we'll have to be Jack, pulling you in, and you could just hear, the comments afterwards. Even I think somebody threw it up on Twitter there recently, just for the crack of it, and I think it was just the fact that they were taking on a Wares bet, and here's they were. I think it was Sarah Elgin actually. I think was taking on the Wares, like, oh, okay, you better go and celebrate. Jack just.
Yeah. Oh no, look, the guys are good at BT Sport. To be fair to them, like, we have a bit of banter with them and all that sort of stuff. They're good at it. We just want to enjoy our time. But look, it was a bit of fun, and I'm sure it was all taken on the right light.
Oh, you get it. Oh, listen, you just won the cup. You're going to get away with a lot of things on night like that, aren't you? And actually, I'm going to I have to embarrassingly admit something. See, as soon as you said about being pulled away, I actually remembered it. But I do remember I probably had 2 beers on board by that stage.
Not quite.
As soon as you said it, I remembered it. Oh, yeah.
We were in a mad rush to get back into the changing room of a couple. So.
Oh, aye. And Ian, you've got to be very confident for this season. I mean, all first game aside, which was a fairly convincing win. I mean, it looks like you're maybe just going to kick on now and maybe try and just, you don't drop from what you did last season, because that's the pinnacle, isn't it? You've won both cups. But the team look fairly determined to just kick on now and keep that level. Quite often you see teams win like that, and then the next season they drop off quite a bit. It's almost, I suppose, anti-climax, I suppose. Doesn't seem to be happening with the guys at the moment.
Well, we know we'll have to keep working hard. There's no easy games in England, and that's basically the challenge right there. We know that we're capable of playing championship winning rugby, but we know that takes an awful lot of effort, and you have to put it in not just every Saturday, but all the training days leading up to that and all. You've got to keep your focus, and you've got to work hard, you've got to train hard to be able to deliver those results. So, that's a challenge for the lads. There can't be really any excuses about it. There are a lot of excuses to say, we've achieved a double, let's have a break. But, that's not really maximising our potential there. Our potential is now that we can win championships as a team. So the challenge is you're only going to do that through hard work, and we've got to keep at it. So let's see if we can do it or not. But there's certainly, hopefully the effort will be there, and we'll be able to be in the mixer come next June.
I think another big point that's going to really drive the boys is, and I'm sure it's been well documented with the English team, because a lot of our lads are a bit, burning about that, should we say. And when you look at the squads that are picked, the fact that we've got the European Player of the Year not in the England squad, we've got a captain of a double winning team that's not in the England squad, and you look around the room, and I think England took the field at the weekend, and we had 2 players in it. So I know for an absolute fact that's a burning factor. And if you watch the performance from the other night, you've probably seen a fella scoring a hat-trick, and he sort of celebrated.
We did.
So there's definitely some burning desires, and I think there's a real, and like that burning sensation to go on and maybe prove a point to people. I don't know. It's always been in our DNA. It's definitely been in our DNA since I joined this club for 12 years. So it's quite nice. I know we're seen as being the hunted a little bit, but there's still that kind of little bit underlying that we can still show a bit more potentially for international rugby.
And we didn't rehearse this, folks, but that's a fantastic link to something I'm going to discuss with these 2 guys now. Because I want to talk to you a bit about Ulster Rugby. And obviously, your talk there, Steno, about the players not playing for the English team. there's a bit of an air of that with a lot of Ulster fans, rightly or wrongly. You know, I mean, some of us parochial with Ulster players and selections in Ireland and how the IRFU select their players. You know, and you guys played the game at the highest level. I never did. I was a club player. I can't speak for Dave, but I think Dave was a club player as well.
Oh, I didn't even get that.
But I have to say, we've watched rugby. I've watched rugby since I was 12 years old, and I don't know about anybody else, but I was screaming for somebody to put the ball in behind the rush defence of the English all day, and we didn't do it until 74 minutes. But it's not just that. I think it's club form of players. And as far as excuses go, you're talking about earlier, Ian, leave that to fans. They can invent excuses you've never heard of before and regurgitate old ones all the time, whether that's about a team, another team, their player, another player. But it seems, what are your thoughts on, you know, your memories for a start from being part of the Ulster setup when you were in your youth? Firstly, having to go and play somewhere else for a start, which I think raised quite a few eyebrows at the time. I mean, I know I remember when you left and thinking, why are we letting these guys go? Because these guys are our future. We're, you know, and you actually, you know, you guys have shown that. You've gone off to another club in England and you've played at the highest level. And I mean, non-Ulster rugby fans are even asking the question, why were these guys allowed to go and why were they not brought back into the Irish fold? Because these are top players. And as I say, we've got then the Ulster thing specifically now, where players, the fans really feel at the minute a little disenfranchised, I suppose, because they don't seem to, you know, the team's performing quite well, but the players that seem to be shining the most don't seem to be really getting much of a look in. But is that because there's just too much competition? Are we being a little blinkered and, you know, rose tinted? What's your feelings on the selection processes? Given what you just said about Chiefs and a couple of guys that, you know, I'm basically thinking, and we all think they probably should be in the English squad and playing. What do you think back home in the IRFU? What's the setup there? What's your thoughts on that? Gareth, start with you.
Well, to answer your question, really, the start of for me leaving, I didn't have an option of staying.
Yeah.
So it never was something I was very much told that, sorry, but Humph is going to stay on. That's how old I am. Humph is staying on, and Adam Larkin, these guys are still here. And that was quite hard for me to take at the time. I spent the next 2-3 years trying to get home and being told no, no, no. And then next thing I know, I'm a Premiership rugby player. And Ulster never approached me. The first time Ulster approached me, and I'll be absolutely honest, because so many people have asked me this for years. They approached me 2 years ago, and that was the first time they approached me. And it was definitely not the right time for me to go home, if I'm being honest with you, because I've been away for so long. And Exeter Chiefs, there was so much more going to happen with Chiefs, and I wasn't going to be going. But that was the first time I'd ever had any approach from any club back home. So for me, getting selection for Ireland was never going to happen, unfortunately, because there just seemed to be a blinkered view on the fact that we were across the water and we just weren't forgotten about, sort of a little bit. So as much as Craig Doyle would campaign a lot for me on BT Sport and all that, he did say to me, I'm going to get you an Irish cap. Fair play to him. He did his best job, but it wasn't to be for me. But again, that's nothing. At the end of the day, I came over to England and I didn't perform until I probably was in England. Do you know what I mean? I might have been a little bit just expecting it to happen a little bit. I had to go a different route. You know, you're talking about winning trophies and stuff. I wasn't winning trophies and stuff until I was in my 30s. You know, so maybe I just peaked at a different time. So that's another way of looking at it. But in terms of international selection, I generally do believe that the best players should be playing for their country, no matter where they play. You know, and I think that's just something that maybe potentially can review. Now, I understand the situation. I understand that you have to look at. It's easier to look after players when they're at home, and it's easier to look after players closer to the clubs. It's the same with the English whenever it comes to not allowing them to go and play in France or whatever. I get that. But at the same time, it'd be great to see national teams playing, in my opinion, their best team, because But again, you've got to understand too, international coaches, they've probably got a specific way they want to play, and they're going to pick to that, because I definitely believe that if you look at England, for instance, they play with very big forward pack. But if you look at the Chiefs forward packs, if you take Sam Simmons as an example and Billy Vunipola, but if you want a big number 8, well, Sam Simmons is not your man. So you kind of have to understand what the international coach is looking forward to.
Ian?
Well, got to say with Ulster, first of all, I was grateful that Ulster gave me the first opportunity to play professional rugby, and I'll always be very, very grateful to them for that, especially, the coaching I got at home, like Doki, Charlie McAleese at Ballinhinch, I mean, Suff as well, guys like that coached me. I mean, that was invaluable to me, going forward to be able to play professional rugby. But it got a wee bit, it got to the stage where I was squad player, I wasn't really playing the big matches. It was Cavey and Paddy Wallace, and they had Nevin was coming through, and Luke Marshall was coming through. So I mean, Ulster have always had good centres. I mean, Stuart McCloskey, nobody had heard of him at that point, but he was going to come through too. I mean, Ulster have always had good centres, and I just felt that it got to the stage where I needed to see myself in my career if I could be more than a squad player, and that wasn't going to happen with Ulster, and I didn't know much about English rugby. I certainly didn't know much about the Southwest England because I've never been there, but it was I lucked out, I joined a great club and proved then again, like Steno said, as I got older, I got better, and the rest of it is we've become double champions. I mean, that's a fantastic way for it to go. As regards Ireland, again, is the same thing as Ulster. You look at the Irish centres. I mean, when I left, it was Darcy and O'Driscoll, and then there was Henshaw and Ringrose, and you still had all those boys at Ulster. Keith Earls could play centre. He's a great player. Then the Bundyaki coming through. Chris Farrell's done brilliantly. I played with him at Ulster. One of my last games was I was 12 and Chris Farrell was 13. Then we both left. And to see, again, he left and got better, and he was lucky enough to come back and play for Ireland. That's a good story for him. But I never thought Ireland should pick me, and I was just glad, to be honest. I was grateful to be playing so well to Exeter, and doing so well, and Exeter, the club, doing well as well. So I never looked over the water and thought, oh, I could be wearing green. I didn't think like that, But at the same time, I always thought for Steno, I looked across the water and went, oh, well, they've Johnny Sexton. And for a while there, it was anybody's guess who Johnny Sexton's number 2 was. And I always thought, well, why couldn't it have been him? You know what I mean? So I think more for him than myself. I looked across and went, well, you're scratching around a wee bit. Why don't you look outside Ireland? It's not.
I think that's a fair point. That Ireland have been so dependent on Johnny Sexton for probably too many years now, and as you say, now we're scratching to try and find a 10 to fill his boots, because he's not going to be at the next World Cup. He just isn't. And but yet he seems to be the first name on the team sheet, and he's the national captain. For how long? We've got to get a 10 in there, and that person's got to be up and running at full speed by the next World Cup, or we are not going any further than we've gone before. It's as simple as that. Steno, the 10s that you've been looking at in Ireland, what's your thoughts been? I mean, obviously we've got a lot of young lads coming through. We've got 2 Burn lads in Leinster, and most of the Leinster fans seem more excited about the younger one than the older. I personally think Billy Burns could have a lot to offer Ireland, just the way he plays, but I don't know if that suits the national game plan. But he's got a great range of passes, nice range of kicks. for me, he can open up a defence. He did it on Saturday, but he frankly did something that they should have done, maybe 30 minutes earlier or 40 minutes earlier, because the space was there. And then you've got young lads coming through at Leinster and Munster. You've got that lad Daly at Munster who looks exciting. We've got, I don't know if you know any of the youngsters at Ulster because you've probably been away that long.
I don't have a clue who they are, some of them. So,
the young lad playing fullback for Ulster, Mike Lowry, who I think is a hugely exciting player, but he is actually a 10. The reason he plays 15 is just he's deemed just too good to leave out of the team, so they're trying to shove him into 15 because we've got the players we've got. And another thing, just do you think if you look at 3 years ago when Ulster had a pretty ruthless clear out, and I think most people agreed that needed to happen, and they now rotate their squad, they bring through their academy players, they're not relying on so many foreign signings. Does it ever come across your minds? If it had been like that back when I was playing, I might still be there. Does that ever cross your mind?
Not overly, no. But it's different timing when I came through. Like I said, I came through whenever arguably one of the greatest fly halves ever played for Ulster, and David Humphreys, was there. Paddy Wallace was there. We had some crop of 10s whenever I was coming through. So to be trying to break through at that stage, I probably, when I was coming through, was there either 2 years too early or 2 years too late, whatever way you want to look at it. But in terms of the guys that are coming through now, like obviously Mike Lowry looks really good. All I've seen him is literally a fullback. And for his development, to play in a different position, knowing what you know as a 10, he's going to develop his game hugely from playing in that position. So that's really good for Ulster going forward. He's going to have looked at the game from a different dynamic. So he'll have seen the game because you get more time at fullback. So he'll have a better understanding of game management potentially. And the fellas like Billy Burns as well coming in. He's obviously a fella who's done the exact opposite of me and Ian have done. He's probably flourished since he's left England and went over across the water. So he's around. And now that he's got himself international cap, he's obviously going to feel a bit more confident about things. And if you look at the Irish 10s that are coming through, like Joey Cobbery is obviously a very talented player. Just need to get him fit. And I think Ross Byrne as well has done well for Leinster when he's had to play. When he did get in and play ahead of Johnny Sexton for those, for that Pro 14 final. So there's definitely 10s. I know there's a couple in Connacht, which I'm quite aware of, like Jack Carty, and I know there's another one, which I don't know off the top of my head. There's a fella back home who looks after these guys, and he's always talking about him. I can't think who he is, and he's one to watch. I think he's only like 20 years old. Maybe just played Irish under 20s, but you'd probably know him better than me, whatever his name is. But apparently he's meant to be very good, this unknown guy. But listen, no, there's definitely guys coming through. I think you're right. Johnny getting there to the next World Cup. I think it's time that it'd be good to start seeing fellas being given the opportunity to play in the international jersey. And I've Johnny there. Like, there's no reason why Johnny couldn't sit on the bench or, be that sort of older sort of influencing character. Look, I always looked at Charlie Hodgson whenever I was playing. Charlie Hodgson did that for Owen Farrell unbelievably well when he was at Saracens. So that would be something, and it's something I've tried to do as I've got older a little bit with Joe and a couple of our 10s. So just giving a bit more experience to the lads, because let's face it, we're not going to be here forever. So it'd be good if I'm sure he did even at the weekend pass on as much knowledge as he could going into that game against England.
Well, like before we pass look at the sort of the future side of things, I'm just going to go through a couple of wee comments that the folks watching me going. First of all, Dermot O'Rourke. Dermot, good evening to you, sir. How are you? Congratulations, Ian and Gareth. For some strange reason, looks like my mum's got in there as well. My mum Jane, good luck, great show so far. Joe Lyons, this is a great one. It's not about picking the individual best 15, but the best team of 15. Certainly, going on what you were saying earlier, lads. And again, Joe goes on to say there's quite a few players that didn't get caps that skill wise probably were much better than the fellas making the team. certainly like people like Charlie Hodgson, to me, Charlie should have featured a lot more often, than he actually did for England. And I think that's, it's one of those things. It's trying to match up with whatever national plans being followed at the time. Gregor Galway says, "Great servants. These two, their stories are something else." I would agree with that, absolutely. Looking at where things have gone from RSA and Wallace up to Premiership and Hinos, you couldn't ask for better than that.
It's funny that same year we won the double, Wallace and the Royal School there shared the school's cup. Like, it's funny.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, sorry, I was a Ballyclare High School guy. Man, guys, we never won all of them.
It's all right. I went to Pretoria, and the first
I remember
our radar was Methody, and we just said nah.
I remember Medallion Shield year, I think it was. We knocked BRA out. That was our victory. That was our big one. That was it. We've won.
Looking at the future and sort of looking forward. First of all, Gareth, I want to ask you, just before I ask about the provincial and test levels for Ireland, how have you managed to morph from from a record point scorer right through to being the kicking coach now? I'd say you probably undertook a wee bit of coaching before you took over there. Can you give us an idea, what sort of preparation you had, to go into the new role?
Honestly, not a lot. I went off last year and went and coached at Plymouth. Literally once a week, I go down and run the backs, really, only because one of my mates asked me to go and do it. And I seen it as an opportunity going forward. But in terms of my role, I sat down with Rob literally when we had come back to start pre-season trade. Well, it was the middle of July when we came out of the COVID into our first stages of coming. And when we had said that, he said to me that I want you to purely concentrate on being a player because we need you at your absolute best. We'll worry about coaching whenever it comes, whenever that day comes, that first day, and we'll get you up to speed. So in terms of that, I've done levels of coaching, years and years ago, but I've kind of been doing like a sort of like a, as the younger guys have come through, you've kind of just naturally been sort of given experience over to the guys anyway. So it hasn't really changed an awful lot what I was doing. It's not like, it's kind of weird because at the end of the last, 10 games, I've always felt like my position was the second choice 10. So I kind of knew that where I was going to be in the 23. So I was always kind of prepping slightly to be finishing, if you know what I mean. So, it was an easier way for me to get my head around the whole thing. I think if I had been the starting guy playing every week and then all of a sudden being told, right, that's, you play in that Premiership final and then you're done. See you in 2 weeks, you're a kicking coach. I think that would have been really quite difficult. So I've been mentally prepping myself for quite a while now, and I've really enjoyed it. I've been in it now for a couple of weeks. Sitting up watching the guys playing against Quins the other night, I had absolutely no desire to be in the field. I really enjoyed sitting up beside the coaches and listening to what they really say and what they really think, which I'm sure Ian would love to know, but he won't know. Definitely a different experience, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I'm really looking forward to this next step that I'm in.
Oh, brilliant! I have to admit now, when I found out. I found out, that you're becoming a kicking coach. I thought, okay, well, it's great to see a bit of natural progression, even if it is from the playing side into the, into the coaching lineup. And I do believe, I think we may have to get a few sheep ready for you, from what I've heard. What's it say here? What's it say here about the council trying to give you the freedom of the city?
Yeah, so I got approached about the week after the final. I got an email from the local council. I thought I'd maybe broken rules or something in lockdown or something silly like that, and they were coming for me. But no, they were asking if I'd like to, if they could nominate me for the freedom of the city. So obviously I jumped at the opportunity and said, well, yeah, but I've been nominated. So I'm waiting to find out next week, and then if I get it, I get the opportunity to drive sheep apparently down the high street. So Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so
I think you say you'll be driving them through. You'll get 9 out of 10 for the drive, and then a wee 10 out of 10 for the pen. If you just if you just pop it in the right in the right spot in the
just to be quick one, Dave. Ian, just have to know. See now, he's poacher turned gamekeeper. Has he changed towards you, or is he still the same?
That's funny. Like the first day we were back in, I walked past the coach's office and he was sitting in there, and I went in to go and talk to him about something, and then I realised, oh crap, I'm in the coach's office here. I need to get out.
Yeah, the Northern Ireland football game you came in to talk to me about, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. I was going in to say to him, "Oh, come round to yours for the football match," and then I was like, "Oh, Alan Rob's here. Better just back out."
Was he just sitting there going,
I could just imagine the face. Lads, I'm just thinking. What do you think? What do you feel about the future of Irish rugby, both at the provincial and test levels? Obviously, we've talked somewhat about new players coming through. Where do you think? Where do you think? Both provincially and from a test point, where do you think we're going to end up? By the time we get round to the World Cup.
Well, the thing I would like to see for Ulster, and it comes back from me, having the opportunity to play professional rugby. I think Ulster, ultimately, if they want to be successful over a long period of time, you look at the Exeter team, the spine of the team's from the southwest. You've Condick Hooker, you have Dave Ewers, who grew up in the southwest. You have both Simmons brothers. You've Slade. You've Noel. The spine of that team, they're really, big name players on it are all from the southwest.
Yeah,
and it would be nice for Ulster if they could get a spine of their team all from Ulster. And it's always, I think everybody at home always wants to see more guys from Ulster getting the opportunity and coming through and playing for Ulster. And I think if Ulster's, looking long term, it's getting harder and harder with the rules and stuff around project players and stuff like that to engineer success or buy success. I think they've got to look at their young players and the clubs and the schools and try and improve things that way. And it'll not get you a good team straight away, but you give these guys an opportunity like I had, and in a way, the Ulster Academy, I'm sure was good for Steno's development a wee bit. You got to give guys the opportunity to play professional rugby, and I just hope that in Ulster they're aware of that, and they're thinking about that, because that's ultimately, I know I don't speak for all Ulster fans or not, but if I, as a fan of Ulster, which I will be in the future, I'd just like to see Ulster players playing for them.
I think that's fair enough.
Gareth, what do you think yourself?
Not very similar to Ian. I'd love to see the development of guys coming through. It's the same wherever you go. I think any club would say the same, but me and Ian both grew up at home. We both wanted to represent Ulster. Ian got the opportunity to do it. I unfortunately didn't, but every time I got to go up and train, even in the Ulster Academy, it was my dream as such to try and get into the Ulster Academy, and then it was to go and play. And I remember being called up and training with the senior squad and how important it is. And I think it's what you really love to see is, every time you sing Stand Up for the Ulstermen, it's going to be Ulstermen in the field. And I think if you can get back to those days, whenever that's what it was, it would be fantastic. But it is a different era we live in, and it is obviously difficult. But look, if it's about developing young players and talent, and there's plenty of people back home in Ulster who want to wear the jersey, so I'm sure there's plenty of ones working hard to try and make that happen.
I agree with that. I think what people forget, though, in 17-18, when, at the end of the season, Ulster had, released 16 players in one go, and then they released 4 more between the start of the season and Christmas. and there's no province or area has 20 professional level players just kicking around that they can throw into the team. And I think that's when we got the big influx of, shall we say, not surplus players, but players that weren't getting opportunities at Leinster, for example. Because we do have a lot of those, and in fairness, they play for the team. But I think people forget that's where that came from. Leinster have got a bit of a production line going at the minute, and they can't give quality game time to the players, all the players they've got. So there was a big hole in the Ulster playing group, and that was an opportunity. But I think going forward, you're absolutely right, because I think the Ulster Academy are starting to produce now. We see the academy contracts offered this year, last year. I mean, they're into double figures now. Where you didn't see that in previous years. The question I wonder is, so now that Ulster are producing good academy prospects, Munster seem to be bringing a couple of good young kids along as well. I mean, they've just come out of the blue, these guys, and bang, they're in the team. Connacht as well. What will the likes of Leinster do with this line of players that they're just producing every season? There's going to come a place where they've nowhere to go on the island, and are we going to then go back to, or they go to England? It's a strange one. But yeah, I think you're totally right. There's no doubt about it. Ulster fans would love to see a team that's filled with Ulster players. And
I think it goes in generations, and hopefully Ulster have a golden generation coming.
Yeah,
soon. I've never been coached by him. I've only met him a couple of times when I was playing Ireland A, and that's a long time ago. But I think Dan McFarlane must be a good coach. I think that Ulster have definitely improved since he's been head coach. Hopefully, whatever he's doing, he can keep knocking it on. I do think there's a lot of improvements in Ulster in the last couple of years since like you said, those places all left. Since they had to release or get rid of all those players, I think the last couple of years have seen some good progress. Actually, I don't watch that many of their games because the TV just doesn't work out over here. I used to watch all the time as in BBC, but now can't get the games. But a couple of games I've seen, I think Jared Payne's doing a good job of the defence as well. Obviously played with him too. I know that he will have a good few ideas around that as well. So I do think the future looks brighter for them. They just have to, keep it going. The old thing with Ulster is it looks good for a while, and then all of a sudden it blows up. So hopefully they can just keep it going this time.
Well, Ian, just now I'm thinking about we've talked a lot about rugby and playing rugby and being that, but what about have you any interest outside of rugby? Like we know Gareth's pretty busy with a lot of interest outside of the game. But what about yourself? What do you do to chillax and? Apart from takeaways and diggers, of course.
I have a 3-year-old son and 2 1-year-old twins, so I don't have much free time. The free time spent up thinking, what'll I do to entertain them all day? My son is mad, loves trains, so a lot of the time we just end up going to the train station to see a train. It's not very exciting, but I have to. It's not after the kids at the moment.
A heavy mix of Thomas the Tank Engine and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
That's pretty much it. Thomas the Tank Engine, Farm, the works. It's good fun though. It is good fun. It means that the days in between rugby matches go very quickly.
Yeah.
Best years too, mate. Enjoy them.
Going great by the day as well.
And what about yourself?
Just sorry for butting in there, but how's the business going? I mean, have you been affected much, very badly by this COVID? I mean, because the Southwest, if I'm not mistaken, has the lowest COVID incidence, doesn't it, in the UK?
Yeah, it does. But at the same time, we still got to adhere to all the rules, So actually, when it locked down in March, we were in the most. We were only 2 years. We were only 2 years old recently there, but we just got ourselves established as one of the main places for live music with a new menu coming out. With the Six Nations was on. we were booming, and then it got locked down. And yes, it was difficult over the summer, but it's like anything. It was out of our complete control. We got back. We got a bit momentum back. We adhered to all the rules. We jumped through all the hoops that you had to jump through, and then bang, we were locked down again there about 3 weeks ago. So it's just constantly trying to work out what the next step is. All being well, we'll be open up again next Wednesday. You know, people are already asking about getting tables booked for Christmas dinner, stuff like that. So traditionally, this is the busiest time of the year for us. The other good thing is live sport is coming back, and as much as it's not great that we can't have people in, now it looks like we are going to be getting people in, maybe about 4,000, maybe potentially, depending what tier we're in at Sandy Park. But we're not going to have a full house, which means there is going to have to be somewhere we want to go and watch it. And traditionally, definitely for the last, every single Chief game that we've had since we started back, we've been completely full. When I say completely full, at 50% capacity, but still full as we can be. So, look, there's a desire to come and watch at our place, which is great. And hopefully, you know, when we come out of the next lockdown, we'll have the same thing.
Okay.
And looking at what Ian Gilbert just said there, Gareth must also be studying sheep management.
No. I come from my grandfather was from cows, so that's where I was doing that when I was a kid. So, and sheep is nothing that I know nothing about sheep, like, but
crash course required by the sound of it. Anyway, if next week goes well.
Rob Baxter's brother Richie, who used to play for the club, he's the man who provides the sheep. So, Richie to lay around him and carry them down. I just walk behind them or something. I don't know.
Oh, dear me.
Hey, I think. I think it's a case of I'm looking now obviously at where things are going to go in the future, like for both of you. What do you want to see, or what do you want to happen now, sort of in the next couple of years? Obviously, both of them, I'm sure will stay at Exeter for some time to come. Ian, what do you want to see happening now? In the next couple of years with yourself.
Well, I'll probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, that the body holds up, and I've a couple more years left playing. I have a couple more years left in my contract, so I just want to play as much as I can. I've always just enjoyed playing the game. So, and to be honest with you, my only goal really coming over to Exeter was to play. Now, I'm lucky that the team's done well in those games. It's been big games, but I just want to be involved in the team as much as I can, because that's what I enjoy. I enjoy playing rugby. It's not going to be as easy the older I get to stay in the team, but that'll be the goal. Go as hard as I can for as long as I've got left, and hopefully be involved in a successful Exeter team.
Gareth, what do you want? What do you want to
me,
say?
It's now that I've achieved the stuff in the game on the playing side, I want to go and achieve it now as a coach. So, I want to, my goals now shifted now. Obviously, the same as what Ian's saying. He wants to go and achieve everything he can. Now, I'm starting almost, you could say, afresh again, something completely brand new. And I just want to go off and be a double champion as a coach. So whether that's in the kicking coach, or whether I can make the steps up the ladder to potentially being a backs assistant coach, all these things. That's for me in the future, but that's something, hopefully I'm very much at the bottom, looking to go up again.
But that's something you're starting quite young though, so you've got, you know what I mean, you can climb up that ladder.
Well, that's quite nice to hear you say quite young, because I'm used to being told I'm the old guy in the changing room, so that's quite nice.
I would just see that's because you were a player then. But here, it's hard to predict the future. It's like the old joke said, if somebody had said to you in 2015, where do you see yourself in 5 years, this wouldn't have been your answer, would it?
No, that wouldn't have been. No, I don't know. Trying to scrape around the barrel, maybe. I might have been back home working for my brother.
Oh, right. Good. Who thought we'd see you pushing sheep around the city centre? And
hasn't happened yet, so we'll have to wait and see.
I think that has to happen. There'll be an absolute outcry if that doesn't happen. Actually, it's funny, anytime I go on holiday abroad, and quite often we'd run into Chiefs fans, they hear the Ulster accent. And they must assume this place is about 3 streets long and everybody knows each other, you know, because they go, oh, do you know Gareth Steenson? Do you know Ian Whitten? Well, no, not personally. I know who they are, obviously, you know. But these are household names in that city. You really are. I don't know if you're aware of that, but you really are. And people talk about it. When they hear, you know, rugby fans abroad and they hear your accent, and they don't even know if you're a rugby fan, although I tend to wear shirts and stuff, and they're talking about you two guys, you know. All good. I might add, all good.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. I was worried there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like that's like we've reached the end of the show now, say, and you know, want to thank both of you for taking the time out to come on and have a natter about all things Ulster, Ireland, Exeter, and sheep. And Ian, sometime I think it was Joe Lyons said, next time you're in the coach's room, just stand behind them and shout mint sauce. You know,
never heard that one before. Honestly, fantastic to have you on, guys, and really, really do appreciate you taking the time to come on and speak to us and for the fans and that. Your story is fantastic. It's been a long one, but by God, you got there. Absolutely brilliant. And Gareth, best of luck in the coaching. I have no doubt you'll be as good at that as you were with the tee and in the field. And Ian, just hope you can keep it kicking for 2 years and we see plenty of you.
Well, hope so.
Last weekend, so expect to keep that going, mate. Expect to keep that going.
Well,
hopefully we can get a chat with you again sometime, guys, and maybe get an update on where you are going, because your 2 journeys are different now, and that's very interesting, I think, to fans as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you know how he's doing.
Aye, that's it. You keep him right in.
You're not allowed to come and play golf running with me anymore.
I know, like,
Really?
sad day.
Oh, for goodness sake. I say he's going up there now, mate. So
Nice.
like,
He's with the big dogs now.
there you go. One less comment from Gregor there. Great show, guys, and keep standing up for the Ulstermen from home. You know, well, look, thank you very much, everybody, for watching us. This has been WhiteWalkers Chat and Crack, an absolute cracker of a show. We will be back soon, and say if you want any more information, or if you want any more information about Paul Handley, please look at the website. We'll get those links up after the show. But for now, thank you very much, Ian. Thank you very much, Gareth.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
As always, Nick, a pleasure.
All right. Thanks very much, guys. Brilliant to talk to you. Appreciate it.
All right. Good evening. Have a good night.
All the best.